Welcome to PhotoshopUser TV, brought to you by the National Association of Photoshop Professionals. And now, here are your hosts, the Photoshop guys.
Well, hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of PhotoshopUser TV. I am Corey Barker, one of the Photoshop guys, and I'm joined today by our new regular co-host, the Photoshop girl, Jessica Maldonado.
Photoshop girl.
It's your second episode. How are you?
It is.
Yes, you're here. You're going to bring some cool stuff today?
I am. I have a typographic treatment that makes the type look like raised wood.
Everybody loves type. Everybody goes crazy over type effects. Okay, also joining us over at the Weather Center, of course, is Mr. Pete Collins. Hello.
Hey, good morning. It's Monday and I'm trying to behave, but there's so many things already bumping through my head this morning. We're just gonna keep, I know I'm over there, but I'm talking to them. Hey, how's it going, guys? It's good to see you.
But you know, you're no longer gonna be able to get away with half of that stuff when HR moves over here. Anyway. Also in the studio, not being on the show, but he's here anyway. We love him so much. RC is sitting over there. Hi, RC. They're not going to turn the camera on him, but trust me, he's here. All right. Hi, everyone. We are brought to you by the National Association of Photoshop Professionals, who bring you this fine magazine right here. That was good. For the first time whipping the magazine. She see that? She did. She's learning good.
She whipped it.
She whipped it well. Photoshop User Magazine. This is the current issue. Be sure to check it out. And of course, we are also found at PhotoshopUser.com. If you're a NAP member, you know that site. If not, check it out and learn all the very cool things that come with being a NAP member. So, is there anything else we want to call attention to? I actually missed last week's episode. It was her first episode here on Photoshop TV. I was gone. I was actually in Los Angeles at the Adobe Max conference. Had a great time out there. There's a lot of really cool stuff. Yeah, they made a couple of small announcements that you may or may not have heard of, but we will not get into that right now. We are going to dive right in and get right to it. So Pete's going to lead things off with a really cool thing, and he's got, of course, a new toy over there. Have you mentioned what you have over there yet?
Well, no. I was going to say, hey, does this look all right, or do all the fingerprints on it show up? And that's because I'm playing with the Wacom Cintiq 22 HD Touch that's out this month, and it is a sweet little machine that I'm playing with. Yeah. It is really cool. Here, let me spin it so you can see. Look, ooh, yeah, now I can come in here and I can move that around. Really great to be able to zoom in, spin things around, access things very quickly. Beautiful machine, and I am enjoying it, and Corey's never going to be able to touch it because I've locked it into my room.
Yeah, he's constantly telling me, he's like, you want to have a hand at playing around with it? I'm
like
yeah, I'd love to.
Here, you want to play with this? Psych!
But every time I go by his office, he's got his hand on like this going, mine, mine, no.
All right, well, so I'm going to start off today by, I talked about this a little last week too, is on the NAP website, if you are not a NAP member, you need to come over and join us because besides all the discounts, the training and stuff like that, you have an opportunity to do things like join in Photoshop contests. I oversee this part of the site and I put up every week, every 2 weeks, I put up a new Photoshop contest and I give you certain elements to play with that you can then hone your skills in compositing. This is an example of some of the pictures that were turned in, some of the winners from last Photoshop contest number 3, so that was 2 times ago. And you can see that we've got just some great before and after, how they fix some things up, but just a wonderful time over there. And so now if we look at this week, I just put up the new Photoshop contest. Those of y'all that are not watching live, it's gonna be already gone, but the next one will be coming up shortly. But I give them different elements, like these 4 elements here, and say you can do anything you want with it. And it's a great way to hone your skills and figure out where you have some gaps in some of your compositing.
Hey, can I go in there and play with that too?
You may go in there and play with it. That'd be great. Anybody can do it. It's not a big deal. It's fun, and it's a great way to learn.
It really is, yeah.
Okay, so now on to a tip. Talking about compositing, I've shared this in a couple of my classes over at Photoshop World, and it always gets a good response for those people that don't know this or that you forget about this. This is a very handy tip when you're dealing with shadows. Oftentimes, to help sell the idea of compositing, you're going to have to work with the lights and the darks and make sure that all the shadows line up. They all need to have that same directional source in the composite. So what happens is, let's say I put in this match right here, and I want to have it interacting with the scene just as if the ladder was. Well, the first thing you do is you double tap on your layer style and you bring up your drop shadow in your layer style panel. Now, we love layer drop shadows because they're easy to do. We can put them in here. We can even grab it on the screen and move it around just like that. But I want to drop the size because I want to try to match what's going on with this shadow over here. That's pretty good, and if I wanted to, I could take the time to make sure that the color of the shadow is going to match the color of this wall. That's another step that you would want to take into consideration when you're doing a composite. But this is a tip I wanted to show you. Once you get the shadow kind of looking about the same properties as the other shadows, click OK. Now obviously that does not look like it's resting against the wall like the other one. And the reason why is your shadow needs to interact with the scene. If there are obstacles or changes in the planes that the shadow is falling across, it needs to interact with those. Well, how would you do that to get the shadow to look right without having to go in there and paint everything around and really do a lot of labor-intensive things? The quickest thing I would do is come over to your drop shadow on your layer styles and simply right-click to bring up this menu right here. Go down to the bottom where it says Create Layer. It's the third from the bottom. And if you click on that, you'll see that my drop shadow has now dropped down into its own layer. So if I click on that, now I have full control of the shadow all by itself. Hopefully you see where this is going now. Now I can take that shadow with all the same outlines of the actual object, hit Command or Control T, and I can rotate that to give it that same angle as the ladder, hit Return, and now come over with my rectangular marquee tool and grab just the bottom area that's hitting the floor, Command or Control T once again. And now this time what I want to do is I want to bring this little center rectangle, which means the access point where it's going to rotate from, and bring it right up to the center there. What that's going to do is say, take every change from that little point and rotate around from there. I right click and I choose Distort, and now I'm just going to drag this shadow part right back over to where the bottom of the match is. Now it thins out a little bit, so I can actually expand that slightly to make it match a little bit more. But I hit Return, Command or Control D to deselect, and immediately my shadow is interacting just like the shadow would for the ladder. I drop the opacity down a little bit, maybe blur it slightly, but now I've done a quick and easy shadow that interacts with the space that it should without having to do a lot of selecting or anything like that. So just remember, when you have a drop shadow, if you right click, come in, and you choose Create New Layer or Layer, it's going to allow you to take that drop shadow and have it on its own layer that you can adjust quickly and easily. So that's it, quick and easy.
Very, very cool. Shadows are very important, of course, and that's another great way. In fact, that's a hidden feature a lot of people don't realize, that you can break away those layer styles like that and drop them to their own layer, especially with that.
Because you're like, oh, the drop shadow is so good because it follows the shape, but then you don't know, how can I get it to do something besides it's locked in there? If you don't know that you can unlock it and put it on its own layer, that can be frustrating.
Absolutely.
Once you figure that out, it's very freeing and it makes life a lot easier.
Most definitely. All right, so let's do this. Let's take a quick break. We're going to come right back. I've got a little something I'm going to show you, and then we've got Jessica's tutorial. And I'm seeing it on the screen. It looks really cool. All right, so stay with us. We'll be right back. Well, hi everyone, we are back, and in just a moment, Jessica is going to wow us with her Photoshop girlness in Photoshop. I just had to throw that in there. Anyway, so real quick, just wanted to show you, or just kind of mention something real quick, is the On the Road we have. The Kelby Training Live tour that we have right now is going. We've got a couple of tours going on, and Mr. RC was just in Salt Lake City last week, correct? Went out really get up there. He is doing, of course, the Adobe Photoshop for Photographers tour. And you can see right down here on the page, he is going to be coming up in Milwaukee on May 17th and in Nashville on June 12th. And of course, we've got Ben Wilmore on tour again, coming up in Columbus on May 15th, Boston, Massachusetts on May 21st. And not to forget Scott's new Shoot It Like a Pro tour. It's really having a big splash.
People love it.
People are loving that tour.
Crazy.
That's coming up in Seattle on May 23rd and Los Angeles May 24th. You'll definitely want to check that out. Find out more information at kelbytraining.com/ or is this kelbytraininglive.com? Is that right? Just go to kelbytraining.com and to look for live seminars. It's right there. All right. I'm going to toss to myself now because I'm still talking. So,
Hey, Corey, do you have a tutorial for us?
Hey, Pete, yes, I do. As a matter of fact, I have something really cool. Now,
Smooth.
That was great. All right. Next time we'll have Jessica do that for me. Actually, last week, as I mentioned, I was in Los Angeles for the Adobe Max Tour. Now, before the event, Russell Brown of Adobe has this really big pre-con thing where it's like a 3-day workshop, really, where they just kind of work and do a photo shoot and do a project, do movie posters. And the theme this year was classic movie monsters. And I went in and I just taught about an hour-long session just to kind of show some really cool Photoshop effects. And he gave me a hard drive of all these images. And a whole bunch of really different cool characters they did. They actually had a Hollywood makeup artist come in and do up makeup for like Wolfman and Frankenstein and all these different things.
That's so cool.
And it was really, really cool to see that. And they did these big prints and everything like it. It was a really, really fun thing. But anyway, they gave me some images. And here's a couple of shots here. And I wanted to build this kind of, ghoulish monster layout here. And I looked at these two shots, and there's two things I like about each one. There's things that I like about each one, but I want to combine it into a single shot. And those things are, I love the hands in this one on the right here. I like the way he's got the hand and the finger up. It's kind of got this kind of, evil thing about it. But his face looks goofy. It looks a little silly. But yet I do like the face over here on the one on the left. So, since they were shot pretty much at the same time in roughly the same position, they're going to line up pretty well. So I'm actually going to take this one with the hands I like and drag it over. Now, when you drag and drop between Photoshop documents, especially when you're trying to line them up, add the Shift key when you drag and drop, and that's going to land that document right there in the center. So we'll go ahead and minimize this one for the moment. Now, if I turn this on and off, we get a funky little dance here. A little guy. So insert soundtrack here. Yes, master. Now, I look at this, you know what I think? Precious. No. Anyway, so it's lined up pretty good, but it's not lined up perfectly. So here's what I'm going to do. Just to make sure they're lined up as best as they can be, I'm going to hold down the Shift key and select both layers. Let's turn that other one on. And then simply go to the Edit menu, go down here and choose Auto Align Layers. And we'll just leave it on Auto and click OK. Now, there's a little bit of a movement there because it lined them up. So if I turn that top layer on and off, see?
Much better.
Much, much better. Things are lining up really good. So that top layer, again, it contains the hands that I like. So I'm actually going to add a layer mask, which will hide. So if you hold down the Option key and click on your layer mask icon, it basically fills the layer mask with black, making it invisible. Now we're going to paint back in what we want to bring in from that photo. So I'm going to paint with white with a soft edge brush, and we're just going to go ahead and bring that hand into this file. Just go ahead and make sure I can get all the hands there. A little bit of overlap there, so I'm just going to bring all that element in there. And now I've got the hands I want with the face I want. And it's got this much more, sinister look about it, and those hands look pretty good. So you see the difference there? So now he's got the same face and doing his funky hand thing. Ooh. Now, because of Photoshop's ability to do animation, frame-by-frame animation, you can see where this could be a lot of fun. But that's not the point now. Perhaps that is a later tutorial. But anyway, so that's really it. That's really just wanted to show you how you don't have to be satisfied with just that one shot. It says, well, I like this, but I'm not too thrilled with that part of the shot.
Right.
Go in there and find your library of images, and they're bound to be a part of it. This is why when I go to, if I'm part of a photo shoot and they say, well, which images do you want from the shoot? I'm like, give me all of them.
Serious?
Because chances are I could use something from the shot. So, but ultimately, I'll just show you what I ended up with after I did all that compositing and put the images together. This is my result after I did a few effects and things like that and added some little grunginess to it and everything. It really came out good, had a lot of fun with it, and there you have it. So
well, not just for a graphic designer, but as parents, we understand about taking pictures of our kids.
Sure.
And oftentimes, we get part of a face that's not looking retarded in one and another. And so being able to do that and link those all together, you can actually get better family portraits doing the same thing. So that applies across the board, photographer and graphic designer.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
So before you lose hope and you think that shot is ruined, fear not. Look around. You might be able to find something to replace it with. Okay. Moving on to our next presenter. We have, of course, the Photoshop girl, And I can't wait to see what she's going to do here. I've seen the result on her screen there. It looks really cool.
Moving
Jessica?
on.
Now, Jessica, you, for those who might not know, didn't see last week, tell us a little bit about what you do with the organization.
Oh, yes, good call.
Give us a little background.
Give us that little recap.
I am the official book designer or associate art director of books at Kelby Media Group.
Precisely. So what does that mean?
So
Every book you've bought. That's
every page, every book.
Every book.
Corey's book,
Scott's book, RC's book, my
all
book,
Scott's books.
Matt's books, all the finished look of all those books. The
Cover to
covers and
cover.
Cover to cover. Literally, cover
I
to
have
cover.
touched every page of every book that you have.
Is
from
the
our company.
responsibility of this one right here.
That's
So
right.
great designs, really fabulous books. They look spectacular on the shelves, so you can't miss them. Check them out. So we had to have her come on the show as a regular and show us how she does what she does. So what do you have today?
Today I have a look. I was in my travels on Pinterest because I love Pinterest.
Of course.
And I came across this image that I have on my screen of a tree trunk that has been carved out to show some script type.
Now, is this the photo or is this the...
This is the photo that I found off of
Okay,
Pinterest that
so this is your
inspired the
reference, your
look. But I
inspiration,
thought
okay.
this would be great in a magazine layout or on a book cover, this
Sure.
kind of treatment. So, I mean, they've carved away the top of the trunk and then brought back some of the top. So we're going to do something similar, but in Photoshop. And I've already set some type. I have an image of a tree trunk from iStockPhoto.com, and we have the word history here set in this cream puff typeface, which I love. It's just a chunky script, so if you...
I use that all the time.
You do? Isn't
Yeah.
it fun?
No, I was just kidding.
Oh.
Sorry.
It is still fun.
You know, I'm still a little nervous here, and you're messing with me.
That's okay. That's why he's way over there.
Okay, so let's move ahead.
He can still throw things. So
Without
just
Pete.
be careful.
Okay, so if you command-click on the type icon here, not on the type layer, it'll select the boundaries of that type, just the pixels of it, not the type itself. Now we're going to go back to the background layer and Command-J or Control-J on a PC to bring that to its own layer. And it doesn't look like anything yet, but if you hide the background, you can see we've copied some of the background onto its own layer.
So you merely use the original text layer to make the selection.
Right, I
and
just
then bring
used that to get the outlines, the shape of the type, and not the type itself.
Excellent,
I'm not
okay.
leaving it as live type for this,
Precisely.
in this instance.
So a selection template, if you will.
Okay, so on our type layer,
And she names her layers. Wow.
I do.
Yeah, you
Wow.
can tell she's much
That is
better
a
than
first
we
for
are.
this show.
You know, usually I wind up with about 100 layers, so if you don't name them, you wind up
I, to
in a
this
messy
day,
situation.
will have a couple hundred layers in a piece, and I still don't name my layers.
Oh,
It's bad.
Lord.
We understand the
Don't-
theory behind
Don't
it.
pass off your projects to me to work with, because that will be trouble.
Oh.
In any case, okay, so I'm going to get the dodge and burn tool by hitting the letter O on the keyboard, and I'm going to use the right bracket to enlarge my brush and start with the midtones and the exposure cranked up on the top here. Just start brushing over this and bring in some more texture on that type layer. And I like to just burn in the midtones. I think that gives us a good look for this.
Still maintaining some of the texture
Yeah.
while not burning
Yeah,
it
it's
all
like
together, yeah.
we're kind of bringing back that texture. I'm going to zoom in on it. It's gotten pretty yellow compared to the actual color of the bark. So I'm going to do Command-U or Control-U and bring up the hue saturation dialog and just get it a little less yellow and bring down the saturation a bit and click OK. Again, I'm going to Command-click or Control-click on that layer that we made and make a new layer. And I'm going to get the eyedropper, grab a light tone from our wood trunk, and fill that layer. That's a bit too light. Let's get that, and we're going to drag that behind the original layer. And I want it to look like this has been raised up from the bark. So deselect, and we're going to do a little trick here where we're going to go Command, Option, Shift, and down, right, down, right, down, right.
No, when that Command, Option, Shift.
What happened here?
That's basically duplicating the layer there?
Yeah, we're duplicating it. Excuse me. We're duplicating it and shifting it over slightly. I kind of did that too much. What's going on here? Delete. We're going to, sorry, Command Option or Command Alt, down, right, down, right, down, right, and it's duplicating and shifting it so that it is connected in this area
You're
here.
ruining our flawless record. No, that's great. So it's getting kind of like this fake 3D.
Yeah, it's
look
kind
about it.
of stepping it down and making exactly a fake 3D.
You know, I know a way you can get real 3D.
I know, but you are the real 3D expert. I'm not going to touch that. In fact, I'm not sure my computer could handle that. I am leaving the 3D to the expert.
But honestly, that is a very clever trick for getting that. If you just want that quick look of having a little bit of
just
depth
having
to
it
something.
step down,
yeah.
and if you just make one and then shift it over, it's not going to have that join at the angle.
yeah,
So, but you can grab one and shift click at the end. Let's grab all of these. Whoops. Shift click and Command E or Control E to make those all one layer.
Nice.
And let's zoom out a little bit. This needs a little drop shadow on it, just to separate it a little bit from the background. We can grab one of these browns and make it smaller and a little sharper. And then we're gonna go back to our original history layer here and double click to bring up your layer style dialog, and we'll give it a little bevel and emboss. And
Just help define that edge.
yeah,
Give it a little bit of form. on the edge.
it'll make it seem like the edges are just a little softer, like they've been carved out. A little inner glow, and instead of the lovely yellow it gives you, pick again something from the background so that it looks like it's in the same environment.
She's wailing on those layer styles, and I love it.
Yep.
It's awesome.
Love layer styles.
Yeah.
Object, layer styles, and what do you call it? Smart objects.
Smart objects.
Smart objects. I'm just still a little nervous. Smart objects are my
come on.
favorite thing. Now let's
Layer
zoom
styles
out.
and the brush engine, perhaps my
Yeah.
two favorite features in Photoshop. And a filter menu. I seem to be the one of 7 people in the world that use the filter menu in Photoshop. So, whatever.
No, it's pretty cool. So this already sort of looks like it's raising up from the wood, but then if we went in and made 2 shadows, like in our photograph that we were looking at, it'll have a harder shadow where it's close to the wood, and then a cast shadow as if the light is coming from the left.
Right,
That'll give it even more of that look that we're going for. So there you go, a quick way of making a raised
That
wood
is very
type
cool.
style.
I love that. She's going crazy on 3. The great thing about these layer styles, of course, and I'm always saying, is that you can always go back in there and change it.
Yep.
You know, you get to a certain point, you think, oh, I've gone too far, I can't change it, I can't, adjust it. Yes, you can actually, because you can go in there and just modify layer styles all day, and it, again makes them that much better. So.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, that cool.
And like Pete showed, you could always pull them off of the layer and warp them or
Precisely,
use filters on them.
Well, I was going to say, one of the great things I love when we start sitting together, because we all have different ways of looking at things. I was going to ask you, when you did that initial cut the history out, what if you took that selection and just bumped it over slightly so that it doesn't match up the grains
Yeah.
exactly?
Actually, something that I did on this other example that I forgot to do when I was doing the one today is I actually grabbed that whole layer and enlarged it a little bit so that it looked like it was coming forward
Right.
in space
Okay.
more. So, I mean, you could see that
It's just
more
those
in this
subtle little
example than
tricks
the one
that
I
help
did
give
today.
it depth, a little
Yeah.
bit of hint of realism, So things that most people probably wouldn't even think about or even try and consciously notice, but things like that you notice, but you don't realize you noticed.
If it's
it-
closer to you, it's going to be a little larger
It looks
than if it
great
was
as
flat
it is,
on
but
that.
that one little bump
Yeah.
to make it slightly shift off, because if it actually was raised up, it
Yeah, you
wouldn't
can see
match
that
those lines
difference in the one I
exactly.
did yesterday and the one I did today.
No,
It's
that's
all-
great. That's beautiful.
It's all in the
Thank you.
details, of course. All right, so we're going to take another quick break. We're going to be right back. We got some stuff to give away and whatever else we need to catch up on. See you right back here.
Command, control.
It's,
We're a bunch of nerds. We're sitting here talking about command this. If you go in there and adjust this, it doesn't stop when the camera stops rolling
Sadly,
for sure.
no.
All right, we're gonna wrap things up here in just a minute. We're gonna have some stuff to give away, but I want to talk about a couple other things. But here's what I'm gonna have while I do this. Pete, why don't you pull up this page where they go and get for our giveaways we're going to talk about in a moment. While you do that, I'm going to talk about the NAP member site. And if you're a NAP member, you of course know at PhotoshopUser.com we have all kinds of things like tutorials, weekly tutorials, and all these kind of things, posts and image of the week and discounts and all these kind of cool things. We've also recently added full-length courses here at PhotoshopUser.com. If you see right here, we've got them catered to whether you're a photographer or a designer. Tells you how to get started, recommends what classes to take. You scroll down, you see we've got basically every in-depth course for every aspect of Photoshop. So if you're unfamiliar with Photoshop or you just want to get up to speed, check those out. And we're going to be adding courses to this every month. So there's going to be a huge library as it keeps building. So in addition to everything else you get with NAP, we also have those full-length courses. And they're produced by, of course, all the Photoshop guys. Myself, Pete, RC, and Matt have all contributed. And even Scott has got a number of really great classes, especially on Camera Raw. Am I right, RC? He's got a Camera Raw class. You'll definitely not want to miss that. So, Pete, have you got that page up?
No.
All right. I put Pete on the spot.
I know.
Now, but while he's still doing that, what are we going to give away today? Today we have this really cool miniature laptop. No, it's actually not. It's the Spider Checker. It's a color reference chart, as you can see right here, for photographers.
Sweet.
So they can actually get their most accurate color they can possibly get with this really cool Spider Checker right here. There you go. All right. So now.
Okay, I got it. I had to figure out. I was putting the wrong thing in.
How does one get this fabulous prize? And Pete's going to tell you how to do that right now.
Well, Johnny, if you go over to kelvytv.com/contest, you'll be able to go in there. You'll select the show. You'll put in your email, all that good stuff. Leave us a comment, and we will pick from that.
And the winner is picked at random, so no matter how witty or awful or offensive your joke or comment may be, it really doesn't matter. It's a business card in the lunch bin.
So to speak.
Type of thing. So that wraps it up again for Jessica's second episode. I think she did really great. Thank you.
Thank you.
We can't wait to have you back on again. So be sure to look out for her. She's going to be showing up a lot more. Did I say look out for her? Look out. Look out for Jessica. She will be along in the coming episodes or in the coming weeks, all right?
Out from behind my desk.
And now that you know she does all the books, you can go back and look at all the designs she's already done.
You have a different perspective on the books now and how they came to be. So, all right, so on behalf of the National Association of Photoshop Professionals and Mr. Pete Collins.
Yoo-hoo!
And Jessica, the Photoshop girl.
And Corey.
It's the Photoshop
and
girl.
me, of course. And RC over there, he's our studio guest, but he's monitoring. Thank you, guys. We'll see you guys next week. Until then, bye-bye. Jazzy hands. Fake chat.
Wow, that was much